Everyone. So I thought I'd give some thoughts about what I think about Islam concerning men, since I've been hearing a lot of misconceptions from my fellow Americans about Islam with men, and I'm gonna give my own, indeed, niche perspective. So, again, a lot of people put out the stereotype that men oppress women in Islam because they ask them to be honest. But what I think you should also shift the perspective to how a good Muslim man who is firm, smooth talking, in a good way, not the slimy talking like a Pauly D type. I'm talking somebody who, when they talk to you, it's butter on bread. It's just so educated and so noble and so dignified. That is a good example of a Muslim man to me. There's a lot of stereotypes of men, honor killing women, and these are very horrible stereotypes that don't really necessarily have a strong statistical significance. So, at least in America, I will give a personal example. I used to date a lot of gangster men. Some of them have went to prison. They were really tough, strong. Some had tattoos on their heads. They're very formidable because I wanted somebody to protect me. I thought that physical strength and scary lookingness was a sign of strength, when in actuality, I was bringing trouble upon myself because if you're going to have a bull in the garden, it's going to step on the flowers. And indeed, that was a giant mistake that I had to learn the hard way. Our culture promotes gangster thug men or promotes slimy businessmen who pay escorts. There's not really a lot of healthy examples of men in our media. Most of the hip hop artists, and in general other artists too, even country singers, are womanizers. So it's very hard for us to understand what a good man is. So when we see a Muslim man with his woman, we think, oh, he must be oppressing her. But here's the thing: I've seen good examples of good Muslim men, and they radiate strength, not domination, bullcrap. I'm talking about they're noble, they seem virtuous, they speak well, they don't swear, they seem kind towards children, they have a very well knowledge of world literature, but also their spiritual literature. And they're always on the lookout for things that can lead you astray. And they act as a guide, a strong man acting as a guide for your soul. I know this may seem hard to a lot of us to understand because we're so used to being so wildly free that we think that any type of reign on us is oppression. I have been completely free in my life, and the more free you are, the more you can get lost in the mountains. Let's put it that way. And you can just end off going so far off in your life that you're just like, I don't even know where I am or what my purpose is. But there will be some good Muslim men, if you are blessed to have this opportunity, who will guide you and wake you up to the error of your own ways. And those are the examples of Muslim men that we should focus on. Men who exude strength, or indeed some of them are extremely handsome, but those who, even if they had multiple wives, they're going to treat all of them good. And I know that may sound sort of weird because in our culture we think of playboys. Now, there's a difference. Muslim men are not playboys, the ones who are noble and dignified. I'm not talking about a rookie Muslim who maybe goes once in a while to the mosque and doesn't do his prayers and he's a casual Muslim. I'm not talking about those types. I'm talking about somebody who literally works on their spirituality every day and who is so well educated that you're just like, whoa, this person knows so much. Those are really good examples of Muslims. And the good examples of certain scholars, they are also good examples of the potential of what a Muslim man can be. And with those men, indeed, you don't have to worry as much that they're going out to clubs at night, that they're sleeping with their secretary, that they're gonna, sleep with somebody while you're pregnant and fat. It's a totally different vibe. And I know what it looks like on camera, and I know that we have a lot of jock football types who love making fun of Muslims. But I'll tell you, as a woman, if you're totally miserable and unhappy, and you're tired of having the meatheads and the really misogynistic playboy types, you should really consider learning a lot about Islam. I know this may sound weird because some of you think, well, I want to just show it all. I want to go to clubs. I want to party. I want to drink. I want to do drugs. I want to, be a gold digger. I want that money. I want that bread. Think about having stability and peace in your life. A good Muslim man is going to bring you peace in your life. I know you might think peace sounds boring, but there's going to come a time where you're not going to want to fight girls for looking at your man, and you're not going to want to fight a man for looking at girls, right? With Muslim men, there's not that drama necessarily. And they're very calm and respectful and dignified. They're not going to call you a cunt or a whore or a slut or certain things like that. They don't have that type of vulgar mouth. And I know it's very hard for us because we have our hip hop culture, we have our bitch hoe culture, we have our thought culture, our Instagram porn model culture. I know it's very hard to think outside the box and just look at some really dignified men. Again, I ask you to consider getting to know some Muslim men yourself. Talk to them. You'll meet a good one, and the vibe is something that'll calm you down. It's something that'll like, it sort of feels like if a horse is bucking and, just put your hand on it and just calm it down. You put the saddle on and you ride it. Just, and I know you may be thinking, man, they're not going to be, anything entertaining. They're going to be boring. But when you have children, you're going to want stability. When calamity strikes, you're going to want stability. You're going to want a rock next to you. Not a guy who's, looking at porn for 2 hours a day on his phone. Indeed. Consider just talking to these Muslim men. Try shifting the desire of the type of men you have. I know I've dated a lot of bodybuilders. I understand that the perfect muscular body and the tattoos and the attitude and the bad boy BMW types, they have a certain allure to them, but it's going to be very short-lived. Okay? It's going to be very short-lived. And I know you might think you're being hard on them. Oh, I have a friend who married one and they're really happy. If there's not a spirituality component in there, it's not necessarily going to be that long-lasting. And I know atheists will disagree with me on that. And there's probably a lot of different highly educated atheists who've found a decent wife. Good for you, good for you. But there are very good examples of strong Muslim men who are very admirable. They care about the dignity of their daughters. They're not going to be out drinking. They're not going to be doing things that are going to lead your family astray. So, again, I've dated these gangster guys, and it led nowhere. It led to pain and suffering and me beating up a lot of girls and me getting in a lot of fistfights with those types of men. And I'm laying it out there for you. And again, you may say, well, he hasn't hit me yet. Oh, he hasn't cheated on me yet. Fam, hear me out. They are not long-lasting. Okay, you cannot get old with a gangster. They will cheat, they will lie, they will spend their money on drugs and not on you. Some of them care more about their cars than they will you. They will care more about chasing a skirt than their own kids. Plenty of gangsters abandon their kids and they have baby mama here, baby mama there. We must look beyond the body, and I know it's really hard. And I know it's really hard not to see that gold watch and the nice car and to not get allured into it like, oh, I want to be there. I feel so cool when you're sitting in the front seat and you're like, look at me, look at me. And then, you're bumping the music, you're on the street corner, and then other girls see you riding with them and you're like, yeah, yeah. But let me tell you, it's short-lived. And that guy might have a reputation for being a womanizer, and you might have this illusion that you're getting some type of good reputation by being with him, but he might have a very slutty reputation, right? And again, if your man is a drug dealer, there's going to be girls who offer their body to get those drugs when they don't have money, and he will give them what they want. So if you're dating a drug dealer, you must understand that you might get a disease, and you might, be replaced any day. And you cannot ever have a lasting relationship with a dealer. With a good, decent Muslim man, you have a way better chance. Because they're focusing on getting into the hereafter. They're focused on, how can I do better? say my prayers. They're more conscious of God because they pray 5 times a day, fam. Right? They don't just have the tattoos of Jesus to look like a gangster. They're not wearing the rosary to thug out. These people are brilliant. So before you look at a Muslim man as some type of tyrannical oppressor, talk to one, right? Get to meet them. Listen to some great speakers. Do what you can to shift your view. Don't just listen to what these NFL Republican jocks say about Muslim men. No, no, no. Get to know them for yourself and see how better you feel about yourself. And see what that energy exchange feels like. It's much different than the thug boys. It's just my 2 cents. And then remember, this is my perspective and from my life experience and from what I've witnessed myself. Um, so again, just asking you to think about it. That's all. Okay.